Hello everyone and welcome to Mass Media. I am Professor Dave Eccles and we are going to be going through mass media from way back in the late 1800s all the way up to the present day. So a little bit of history and a little bit of current events and a little bit of this and a little bit of that. It will all be online and it will be asynchronous, which means that there won't be any Zoom sessions or anything like that. You won't have to log on at a particular time of the day or anything like that. The whole thing will be online. I may, at some point down the line, think about doing a Zoom session, but generally, I don't think I need to do that. The entire class is pretty easy. Well, maybe not easy. It took me quite a long time, but I got it all up online in a series of videos that looks almost exactly like this one, a series of PowerPoint slides. That's really the core of the class, PowerPoint slides, and they all have pictures with them, not my picture, but they all have pictures or some sort of an illustration with them. So they're a little nice to look at, I guess. And you can watch these videos. They've all been uplinked to YouTube and then linked to Blackboard. And you should be able to click on that and get the video right there without wandering over to YouTube. But that's where they live, and the YouTube people are very good engineers, and they're going to take care of those videos for us. And so let's dive in a little bit deeper, look at the class as kind of an overview. So your syllabus is really the key to all this. If this were an in-person class, you would get a syllabus and we'd talk about it, we'd actually study it. I'd tell everybody, get out your yellow highlighters and everything, because instead of just taking your syllabus and putting it in your notebook or in the bottom of your backpack, we're actually going to study the syllabus. It's a legal document. It's our contract. And so we want to understand it as best we can. Everything in the class is going to relate to the syllabus. And I've broken out some of this stuff as best I can under assignments and under tests and things like that. But basically, the syllabus is our one-stop shop. It has the schedule, when we have classes. Well, we don't really have classes, but when we have tests, when assignments are due, things like that, what's on the test, what we're covering from week to week, the assignments, the podcasts, the URLs, everything is in the syllabus. So please keep track of it. If you need to contact me, okay, you can do that through Blackboard, or actually email is a pretty good way to do it. I don't always connect to Blackboard while I'm out and about, walking around and driving around and whatnot. Usually I wait to do that back home in my office with my nice big giant 26-inch screen desktop computer. So if you need an answer to something rather quickly, then an email is really a good way to do that. So if you put in there just 166 ULV or something like that, or ULV, it's the only class I'm teaching this semester, then that would help out, and then I'd know what you're talking about. So our textbook is, I think this is it right here, okay? It is recommended and not required. So right there with the wave of my magical Professor Wand, I have saved you $150. Isn't that nice? Can I hear some applause? Yes, I saved you $150. And we get to, these are the same textbooks as they would use in mass media classes all around the country. So that's why our classes articulate and transfer to other colleges and other classes and grad schools and all that good kind of stuff. The tests are based on my PowerPoint lectures, right? So they're based on that. They're not based on the textbook so much. I mean, well, they started it with a textbook, and I read the textbook and digested it, and then I put it all into PowerPoint slide lectures, and there will be a number of links to videos, documentaries, and films and stuff. We're going to spend 3 classes on film history, so I've got lots of links to films and things like Jaws and that sort of thing, and lots of nice documentaries and everything. So that's the essence of the class, the online part, the video part of it. And you can always turn on, by the way, if English isn't your first language, or if maybe I talk too fast, you can always turn on the closed captioning. Usually it's down here in YouTube. Once they get it, then they are pretty good at closed captioning. You can turn that on. That might help you out. But basically, you'll get a PowerPoint slide and you'll get some text, and you can write as much of that stuff down as you want. And you are in charge, unlike the classroom. Okay, so I miss seeing everybody in class in person. I really like the idea of getting dressed and getting ready and going to campus and seeing your classmates and all that. I miss all that. But on the other hand, you are in control of my lecture. So if you want to take a break, you don't have to leave and miss some of the lecture. You don't have to wait for me to take a break for the class, for the lecture, or anything like that. You just hit the pause on the video playback that you have, and you can take a break, you can take a potty break, you can take a food break, you can take a nap break, doesn't really matter. You are in control and you are in charge of the lectures. And the PowerPoint slide lectures will be about an hour, just like they would be in the classroom. And in the classroom, I would show some PowerPoint slides, and then I would show some related clips, maybe film clips, maybe some film trailers, documentaries, lots of documentaries and things like that. And so I would alternate back and forth from PowerPoint to DVDs and YouTube videos and all that. So you can do that too if you want. You can play the lecture for a while and then go click on some of the other clips below that, and then come back to the PowerPoint slide lecture. Or you can listen to the whole lecture and then go to the film clips. The whole thing will take you close to a couple of hours, so don't wait until the night before the test. Okay, don't wait till the night before the test and cram all this stuff in. You really want to do it like a class, like once a week. Okay, get in there once a week and watch these videos. I will release the videos in chunks relating to the test. So we have 3 tests, so I will divide all of the 14 or 15 videos up into thirds, and I think it's the first 5 classes will be on test 1, and then the next 4 or 5 classes will be on test 2, and then the last will be on test 3. So I will release these all in chunks, right? So I think the first 5 are up right now, and then we will take the test together, not together, but on the same day. So you can do the lectures when you want, but the tests and the assignments are all due on specific days. Okay, we'll talk about that in just a little bit, tests and so on. So instead of a textbook, okay, I told you that I saved you all that money from a textbook, and what we're going to do instead of that is we're going to listen to podcasts. Okay, so the podcasts, we're going to listen to the 7 groupings of podcasts. So each assignment will have maybe 4 or 5 separate podcast stories within. So you will, and you have this in your syllabus, and you have this in the assignment. You have this in 2 other places online. So you have this at least 3 times now, okay? Your name and the college and all that, and the assignment and the topic. And it needs to be on time to receive the 15 points. And Late papers will be deducted only 2 points per class day late. Okay, so whatever the class is, however many class days were late, usually it's one a week. So you do want to get them in, you want to get the points, but it's not really harsh. But why not get every point you can, right? Late papers, you have to work just as hard on a late paper as you do on an on-time paper. So they come from a couple of main sources. On the Media is one of them, and Planet Money is another. I think there's some from Radiolab, and there might be a couple of other sources, but they're all there online. And so you will have the URLs, and you won't copy, you won't type them, you'll copy and paste them into the address. And Google searches will usually get you to the story too. Now, I'm sorry that I can't link the podcasts in Blackboard the way I can with the YouTube videos, but it just didn't work. I tried and tried. I thought, wouldn't that be nice if they could click on Blackboard and get the podcast, but it didn't want to take podcasts. It was fine with videos, but it didn't want to take podcasts. So you're going to have to grab the URLs and copy and paste them in. So here is the first paper. Okay, the first one's on journalism. That's the topic we're going to cover. This is the URL. Okay, you might be able to click on it. I'm not exactly sure. You might be able to click on it. But otherwise, you would copy and paste this. Okay, you don't want to have to type www.onthemedia.org/blah, blah, blah. So you won't have to do that. That's the first one. Here's the second one. Okay. No, they're not more on next page. Sorry about that. So on the first one, there are 5 stories. I'm not even sure if these are the same 5 stories. I do change it, so these won't be the ones. This is just an example. Okay, I think I've changed this story. I'll have to check. So these aren't the 5 stories, but it'll look like this. And you'll have 3 to 5 or 6 stories, totaling about an hour in total. Some will be maybe an hour and 5 or 6 minutes. Some are going to be down in the 50s. Okay, but all of the podcasts will be about an hour in total, the 4, 5, or 6. And you need to write about a page. Okay, you need to write about a page. So if there's only 2, you still need to write about a page. And if there's 6, then you write less on each page. This one is 20 minutes. You're going to write more on that than you would on a shorter one. And again, I don't think that these are the stories for your first podcast, but that's the way it would be. Depending on the length, that's how much you write. And all you're doing is summarizing each story. Okay, so you're just going to summarize the story, 2 or 3 sentences. Okay, something like that. 4 sentences. Oops. Oh, darn it. And then at the end of every paper, you will write your thoughts. Okay, just want to know your thoughts on newspapers or movies or the internet or the recording industry or whatever, right? So the last one is not a podcast of any sort. It is just your thoughts. So don't forget to do that part 2. Okay, don't forget to do that part 2. I'll deduct you a point or 2 if you don't do the whole thing. So you can copy and paste the URLs, or you can go to Google and type it in. Usually it gets pretty close if you've got the title of the story and all of that. And you will do those. Your class schedule tells when they're due. Usually there's one due on the second class and so on, so you can check the due dates for all of that. And like I said, there are 7 of those at 15 points each. That's 105 points, so that's like one of the tests. Okay, that's like a test. I think I rounded it down to 100 points in the point total. So you sort of have free 5 points if you do all 7 of these. You will also do one My Media report, and that is on your usage and cost of media. And again, the due date is in the class schedule. Seems like it's October, something like that. And you're going to keep track of all your internet media usage from your phone, just from your phone, for the most part. Okay, if you want to from your computer or whatever, your laptop, I guess that would be okay too. It doesn't have to be all your media, so if you actually go to the drive-in, you don't have to write about that, or if you go to a concert, of course, most of that stuff's closed for now. But anyway, it's all the media that you use on your electronic device, your key electronic device. And I think this works out best as a grid. So there are these categories. Your social media, okay, so Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, whatever, just social media in general. Music, videos, shows and movies, Netflix, of course, and your homework, like this, right? Podcasts and stuff. That would be 1, 2, and then maybe gaming, if you do gaming. And which one? So we're looking for time. That's it, just looking for time. Your phones, most of the phones have a weekly report, at least mine does, and it's pretty easy to activate, and it will tell you, it'll break it down. Now, I don't want percentage, because percentage, just saying that you did 30% of your time was spent on social media, that doesn't tell me if it's 30% of 10 hours or 30% of 100 hours. Okay, so I don't think percent is very helpful in this case. So we're just looking for time, really, for a week, okay, for a week, and then we're going to extrapolate 2 more times. We're going to take a week and multiply by 4 to see how much you do all this stuff for a month, and we're going to take a month and multiply it by 12 to see how much time you spend on this stuff in a year. Okay, so some extrapolating, a week, month, and year in these 6 categories of media. And then it's your media, right? So it's kind of a report on you. Maybe you'll discover a little bit about how you use media. The second part is raw number of text messages, right? So that's not time. That would be just a raw number, how many you sent in a week. If you belong to a group where they're going out to 12 people at a time, just count how many single text messages you sent out. Or if you're part of a big group where there's 15 of your friends and they're all, okay, I don't need all that. I'm looking for how many you are sending. I think that's the key, because that's what you are doing. If you want to, how many you read or received, that's okay too. And we're going to extrapolate that too. So how many in a month and how many in a year. Okay, so just a couple more. You can grid this all out. Nice sort of grid thing. Okay, should be pretty easy. You're just plugging numbers in. And then you're going to give me a personal reflection on how much on the time, right? Just a paragraph, not a sentence, a paragraph on how you use your time. Okay, on the internet, how much in total, and on each one. Are you listening to more music than you thought, or less music than you thought, or whatever? So that's the second part. Okay, second part, text and extrapolating that, and then the personal reflection. And then we have the costs of all this. So the data plans come by month generally. So I want you to total up all of your data plan. And a lot of people, when they get a phone, they don't buy it outright. They pay it off over a period of a year or 2. So how much are you paying for your phone? How much does your data plan cost? How about your subscriptions? Okay, how about Netflix or Disney Plus or any of the music subscriptions or any of that, right? So total up all your subscriptions, how much money you or your parents or whatever spend on all this stuff, just your electronic stuff. And mostly it's coming out of your phone and maybe your laptop, and that's what we want, okay? And extrapolate that for a year, and then you're going to think about personal reflection, how much all this costs. This is a good time, if you're at home, to bond with your parents. Parents always love it when children take an interest in the cost of things, okay? They will be very happy that you showed an interest in how much all of this stuff costs. Good bonding time. All right, that's it. And that's it. Okay, it's not bad. You're researching yourself. So that makes it kind of fun. And it should be a little bit illuminating too. Okay, there are other extra credit topics. And the first one, I call it the Hollywood Experience, and that is just a nice tour of the area. And remember, all of this is in your syllabus, and all of this is in extra credit. Okay, so this, you have 2 more copies of this. Okay, but the syllabus, you know for sure it's in the syllabus. Anyway, go to Hollywood, the El Capitan, owned by Disney, TCL Chinese, all that kind of stuff. Let's take a look. Okay, so this is at Hollywood and Highland. It's kind of a shopping complex. It's kind of right in the center. Parking is generally underground, under this area here. I don't know where you come up. You come up somewhere, escalator or something. You come up somewhere. You can park under there. You can try to find street parking. It's kind of tough, although it might be a little bit easier these days. But you can try to find meter parking on the street or park right here underground. Pretty safe. Hollywood's pretty safe. There's lots of tourists there, which means there are lots of security and police and lots of other people. LA wants to keep visitors safe, so I wouldn't worry about any of that. This actually is paying homage to a 1916 film called Intolerance by D.W. Griffith, and there's a section set in ancient Babylon, and that's what this stuff is about. Now, I have heard that they're reimagining all of this, and so I don't know how much longer it's going to be up or if there's going to be construction or whatever. But anyway, that's the way it is now, and it's kind of cool. And importantly, that's just a shopping center. That's not the important part. The important part is next door, and that is the Chinese Theater. And it is a National Historic Registry place built in the 1920s by a man named Sid Grauman. So you will see references to Grauman's Chinese Theater or Sid Grauman around. They don't own it anymore. It's the TCL Chinese Theater, whatever the TCL company is. But it has to be the Chinese Theater. It's once you're on the historic registry, you can't tear stuff down. Okay, I hope nobody would want to. They did sort of gut it on the inside, and where are we here? We don't see it. Okay. Anyway, the inside is quite beautiful, and it's just really gorgeous. Is this the inside? Yeah, there we go. That's the inside. So it's quite gorgeous and beautiful, and there's a big IMAX screen in there now. So no movies for a while. Who knows? Maybe they'll be open before the semester's over in December. Great place to go in and see. This gorgeous, and they built it for trying to lure the middle class into the movies. And in the the aughts and the tens, 1911, 12, 13, right? Mostly the audiences were immigrants and lower class people because it only cost a nickel to get in, and the middle class would go off to the theater, or they would go to vaudeville shows or theater shows or something like that, which cost more money. So the immigrants and the lower classes were the ones that could go to the movies for only a nickel. But the theater owners wanted to be able to, and the movie studios primarily, wanted to be able to lure in the middle class so they could charge more for tickets and things. So these short little 20-minute movies got to be longer and longer and longer, finally up to a couple of hours, and a tiny little little box of a theater with folding chairs. Now we have this big, beautiful palace. You kind of feel like you should dress up if you're going to go, and so you can charge more than a nickel. Really, it's kind of a business decision too. It's comfort and all that, but once you provide a wonderful setting like this, then you can charge more than a nickel. You can charge a quarter or 50 cents or something like that. Okay, so that's the inside of the theater. Now back outside in the courtyard here in the front area, there are squares of cement that movie stars have been putting their handprints and footprints in for almost 100 years. So some of them go back to about 1927, and they come up to the present with Tom Cruise and the Harry Potter kids and R2-D2 and Avengers and so on. Okay, so it's kind of fun. and they look like this. Okay, this is Humphrey Bogart. He was a big, big star in the 1940s, and you probably don't know who he is. And if I gave you 3 or 4 pictures of some men, you'd maybe have a hard time picking him out of a lineup. And he was very, very famous. And the point is not how little you know. The point is how fleeting fame is, right? You take the most famous person. Imagine in 60 years that nobody knows which one is Leo and which one is Brad. Okay, I don't know which one's Leo and which one's Brad, Grandpa, okay, which one's Tom and which one's Chris or Chris or Chris or Chris, right? The 4 holy Chris's, Chris Pine, Chris Pratt, Chris Hemsworth, Chris Evans, right? Who knows which one's which? Or maybe we could put up a whole 4 Chris's and try to figure out which one's which. Well, in 60 years, that's going to be hard for young kids. Okay, so the point is how fleeting fame is. You've got to be really, really famous to be famous after nearly a century. You've got to be Charlie Chaplin famous. Okay, you probably know Charlie Chaplin. You've got to be pretty famous. Charlie Chaplin, most famous person in the world there for a while, and even so, you probably know which one Charlie Chaplin is, or Marilyn Monroe. Okay, she died more than 50 years ago, but you probably still know Marilyn Monroe. That's like super famous, like Elvis famous. Okay, you got to be really, really famous. And Humphrey Bogart, like Brad Pitt or Tom Cruise, isn't that famous. Okay, you got to be much more famous than that, I guess, to be known after 100 years or so. Even a lot of our presidents, people don't know who they are after 100 years. You know, Lincoln and Washington and so on, but a lot of people aren't sure which one is Harding and which one's Van Buren, right? So even our presidents aren't that famous. Okay, anyway, then right along in here in the front, there is whatever that is, granite or marble or something, and this goes for a mile or more on both sides of the street of Hollywood Boulevard, and that is the Hollywood Walk of Fame. You can see all the stars as you walk down Hollywood Boulevard. Okay, according to the Kinks song, okay, some that you recognize, some that you hardly even heard of. And there are, I think, 4 categories. There is motion pictures and television and recording and radio. So like DJs and stuff, like Howard Stern, like radio versus like, I don't know, the Beatles or something. Those are the stars, Hollywood Boulevard. And so it's cool, right? Be a tourist, have fun. Now, when you're here, even today, I understand, there are still people wearing costumes of Darth Vader and Spider-Man and Marilyn Monroe and Charlie Chaplin and Jack Sparrow, right? They're out there, they're dressed in character, they would like you to take your picture with them for $1 or so, okay? You don't get to just take your picture with these people and stiff them, right? You wouldn't do that to your waitress. You leave a tip for your waitress, I hope, or waiter. And so these people are trying to earn a living. For some people, that's how they put food on the table. So if you're going to take a nice picture with you and Charlie or Marilyn or Darth or whatever, then you give them at least $1. Okay, they're trying to eat. So be good, be a good citizen, be a good tourist. So just down the street from the Chinese Theater, actually across the street from the Chinese Theater, is Grauman's Egyptian Theater. It's sort of down a thing. It's set off from the street. Again, Sid Grauman. And jumping around here a little bit, here we see Sid, right? So Sid is Sid Grauman. He's the first guy there. So if you go with some friends, you can say, who's this Sid guy? You keep talking about Sid. Everybody keeps thanking Sid. Well, Sid is Sid Grauman, and he's the guy, right? He's the guy that built it. And there's a Chinese, there's an Egyptian, there's a Mayan, and so on. They weren't part of the theater chains. They just had the Grauman theaters. This is still there. It's nice, fun, take some pictures. And it was just bought by Netflix. So they would like to be able to show their Academy Award worthy films Marty Scorsese's last film and some of those films that would be streaming on Netflix. But a lot of directors and a lot of movie stars, they like the idea of the theatrical experience, and, you know, on a big, giant, huge screen with a dozen speakers around the room and a big crowd for all that electrical energy that you get. So yeah, the theatrical experience is really kind of fun, and so even Netflix has a theater where they can show some of their films. And also across the street is the El Capitan. This one is owned by Disney Corporation, and so they show Disney films there, and they have lots of films that they can show because they can show the Disney films, and they can show Marvel films and Lucas films with the Star Wars movies and Pixar movies. So they've got all those franchises, also Muppets, right? So they've got all those franchises. They will book them in their theater. And usually the Star Wars movies are booked across the street at the Chinese theater, going back to the first time Star Wars played, the original Star Wars played back in 1977. So that's sort of a good luck thing for them. But all the other Disney Corporation under the Disney umbrella play over here. And sometimes on weekends they have stage shows. They might have costumes in the lobby, stuff like that. So when they open, and they'll open at some point, when they open again, it's really a cool thing to see all that kind of stuff. Okay, so that's extra credit. All you do is you write a half a page. A half a page, not 1 or 2 lines, not, 2 sentences, but half a page. Just my cousins and I, or my friend and I, or my girlfriend and I, or my boyfriend and I went, and we saw this, and we did this, and we did that, right? Just a personal experience. That's all you got to do for that. You can also watch Ken Burns documentaries. We will talk about him later on when we talk about public TV. So they're all up there at pbs.org. The one on Prohibition is pretty good. You might enjoy that. And there's also one on the Vietnam War, if maybe your father or uncle or somebody like that was in the Vietnam War. It's a really good one. We're going to jump to Drive-In in a bit. You can go to the Paley Center for Media in Beverly Hills. That is fun. They have all sorts of stuff going on over there. You can go to a TV show taping when they start back up again. They will. At some point, they will. Jimmy Kimmel Live's here in town, and even a show like Ellen, right? Just any TV show taping is fine. Dr. Phil, I don't care. Okay. And so drive-ins, if you go to the drive-in, that is fun. You will enjoy it. I'm sure of it. And they are open. I know for a fact that drive-ins are open. That's one of the only ways you can see a movie these days. And here's from the 1950s. That's Charlton Heston as Moses parting the Red Sea for the Ten Commandments. I think this is photoshopped together. It's such a perfect picture to me. It has to be somehow photoshopped up. But anyway, that's okay. And you will park your car pointed toward the screen. Most of the drive-in theaters have a snack bar like the hub of a wheel in the center, and then screens, maybe 3 screens out in opposite directions that people can go to watch whichever movie you're going to watch. And you will listen to the movie on your FM radio, so they will tell you what to tune in to. They'll give you a number, right? 89.7 or something. They'll give you a number, and you'll tune that in. You can listen to it. You can crank the volume, or you can turn it down and make comments throughout the entire movie. Nobody cares. You can bring food in, right? You don't have to hide it. You can bring in a pizza or a Subway sandwich or whatever. And but they do have a snack bar that has usually nachos and tacos and things like that, and pizzas and so on. So their snack bars are okay, but it's just the one snack bar for all 3 screens and bathrooms and all that. And you can back if you have a pickup truck, you can back it in and put some padding and so on in the back, in the bed. I don't see any pickup trucks here, but you can back your car in. And you can, there goes my phone. I'm not going to answer it. I'm right in the middle of this. Let's keep going. You can put padding in the back of your pickup truck and or SUV. Depending on the time of the year, you might need some blankets, things like that, lots of pillows, all that good kind of stuff. Some people bring beach chairs or lawn chairs or something like that. You can set those outside. It's kind of like a big party, even with social distancing and so on. It's kind of like a big old party. You can hear the movie throughout the whole area there, and you can wave to people and all that kind of stuff. It really is fun, and it is one of the few ways we have to see movies not at home. Again, you're just going to write a half a page on the experience. I don't really care what the movie is. I know there are some concerts being shown live at drive-ins, and that's okay too. It doesn't have to be a movie even. Okay, so was it Kenny Chesney or somebody? Somebody was giving a concert. A student asked, yeah, it's still the drive-in experience. So that's fine. It might be a live thing where they're performing live somewhere and they're streaming it out across the country, and that's fine. That's cool. Okay. And so they are around, not far. Okay, you can Google it and find them, but they're not far out to various freeways, the 10 or the 91 or whatever, and you can find where they are from wherever you are. Okay, and that's drive-in experience. A lot of fun. You can only do the drive-in once and the Hollywood thing once, but otherwise you can just do more, more papers and stuff. If you want to do more documentaries and all that other kind of stuff, that's okay too. Okay, but drive-in, right? That would be a one-time thing, or Hollywood. And if you don't have a car, you can just write 3 more papers. There are a whole bunch of movies that are there. Let's see, where did they go? Yeah, there's a bunch of movies, and if you don't have a car, or don't want to go to the drive-in, or want to stay in, there's a bunch of movies. There might even be some more. We'll see. And you can track these movies down too. Okay, so they all relate to class. We will talk about them and look at the trailers in class shortly. Okay, so for extra credit. Extra credit will all need to be in before the final test. Okay, you don't get to take the final test and decide, oh, I'm 10 points away from an A, I got to do 2 more papers. So the last points you receive in the class are the test. So you have to decide how much extra credit you need before taking the 3rd test. I think I've locked it out a day or 2 before the 3rd test. I won't even call it a final exam, just the 3rd test. Okay, now we got to talk about the big one here, and that is tests. That is tests. And there are 3 tests. And they are 50 questions, they are multiple choice, and they're worth 100 points, and it is timed, and you'll have 25 minutes to take the test. I've given this test for 10 or 15 years. I know it's not a big deal, but I get from students, especially since we've gone online, which seems kind of odd because I never got complaints beforehand. It's not enough time, Professor, I need more time. It is enough time. It is plenty of time, and I will explain. First off, it's not open book. You're not supposed to have enough time to look up all the answers, right? You don't have time for research. You're supposed to know the answer. You're not even supposed to think about the answer. You're supposed to know it. Study, and study hard. So no looking at textbooks, no notes, no online, none of that kind of stuff. Just like a regular test in the classroom. Empty your bladder like you would in class, okay? And just bear down and take the test. Okay, so it is multiple choice. There's no fill in the blank. There's no short answer. There's no essay. There's no analysis. It's not trigonometry. It's not algebra. You're not actually doing anything other than clicking on one of 4 answers. That's all you're doing. You're reading 50 sentences and selecting 50 answers. That's all you're doing. Okay, now, if I asked you, what's 2 plus 2? Who's the President of the United States and what state do you live in? You would be able to do that quite fast, right? Because you know the answers. Now, I have students that finish these tests in 10 minutes and under because they studied and they know the answers. Just like that. If it's an easy test because you studied for an hour or 2, seriously, an hour or 2, then it will seem like what's 2 plus 2. It'll seem easy. You'll blaze through the test and you'll be done just like that. If you don't know the answer, thinking about it for 20 minutes isn't going to help you out. You don't know it. You're guessing. Okay? If you don't know the answer, you don't know the answer. Click on something and move on. Okay? There's no essay to write. There's 4 choices. Click on the choice. Okay? And move on. You can do that in 25 minutes. And if you study hard enough and if you know the answers, then you will click on mostly correct answers in 15 minutes. Okay? And it's only when you don't know what the heck's going on that you need more time. 25 minutes isn't enough. Okay, now I know there are legitimate reasons for needing more time. I need a note from student services or your guidance counselor or somebody stating that maybe English isn't your first language, maybe dyslexia. There's all sorts of perfectly reasonable and legitimate reasons for needing more time. Not studying hard enough is not one of them, okay? That's not a good reason. But taking a test in a foreign language, that's a pretty good reason. And having diagnosed, dyslexia and things like that, those are very legitimate reasons. So I just need some kind of evidence that you need that, and then I can give you time and a half. So half of 25 is 12 and a half, and so 25 plus 12 and a half is 37 and a half. I might round it up to 40 or so minutes to take the test, but I need something from the college. I'm not the one that's supposed to be making these calls. The college is the one that needs to be making these calls so that everybody has a level playing field and everybody is created and treated equal. Okay, so I want everybody to be treated equal. Just the students that ask get more time, the students that don't ask that need more time, but they don't ask and they don't get more time, and that's not really fair. So I want everybody if you think you need more time. Now, on the first test, we can't go back, okay? So if you didn't finish the first test, I can't give you more time on the first test, okay? Because you looked at the test. Maybe you looked up all the answers and that sort of thing. So if you start the test, then you need to finish it. You can't just try it out and say, I didn't have time to finish, I need more time. You've already looked at the test, and now it's a day later maybe, and you had all that time to study. So you need to decide if you need more time before you take the first test, for the first test. If after the first test you think you need more time, that's fine. I can add it to test 2 and test 3, but I can't add time to test 1 after you've taken it. I hope that makes sense. Okay. And like I say, the way things are online, when students take tests online, I can see how long it took. I can see, oh, this student finished in 12 minutes, 11, 10, 17, 22, 25. I can see. And most people don't need the full 25 minutes. And I suspect a lot of people are just taking every last minute that they can, and maybe they don't need it. But it will be easy to do in 25 minutes if you study hard enough. That's the key. You just study hard enough, and you should be fine on that. Also, okay, I almost forgot. Also, on the test, it is timed, so when you click on it, the clock starts. You can't stop it or pause it. Okay, be very careful about clicking on the test. Be ready to go. And the test will be up for 24 hours. And in that 24 hours, you need to find 25 minutes to take the test. It will go live on the testing day at midnight, and it will go off no matter where you are. If you're taking the test at 11:59 p.m. and haven't finished, you will be locked out. Okay, so don't take the test at 1/4 to midnight, okay, or 10 to midnight. If you want the full 25 minutes, you got to take it by 11:35, okay, or 11:34, whatever that is, or you won't get all the time. So you'll get locked out. So don't take it that late. Don't take it much after 11 p.m. You should be okay. And like I say, once you start, you can't look at it or sneak a peek or I wonder what it's like because the clock starts. And then you better put everything away and take the test. Okay, so I hope that's really clear on test taking. On the test day, and I think I have the tests and the papers due on the days when normally we'd have class. I think normally this class is on a Wednesday. I have to check, but I think normally it's on a Wednesday or Thursday. I'm not sure, but yeah, I think it's a Wednesday. And so the tests will be on Wednesday and the papers will be due on Wednesday, but everything else, when you watch the videos and when you take the class, basically, you can do that whenever you want. And by now, the first 4 or 5 class lectures should be up and online. And then you'll take the first test. And on the day of the first test, then the next 4 or 5 classes will be released. So that's how that's going to work. And you have my email if you need to ask me any questions or anything like that. Thank you so much for taking this class. It's about media. It should be fun. Movies, TV, internet, right? All that stuff. It should be a fun class. And podcasts, right? Podcasts instead of reading. So that's fun too. And then my media report. So I think it's pretty well structured. I've been working on this class for a while. I think it's pretty well structured. So I hope you enjoy it. In the meantime, thank you so much, and I'll talk to you later.